I used to be an adventurer like you, but then I took an arrow to the knee. Hello everyone, Genki here, and today we're going to try and beat Skyrim as a Whiterun Guard. The city guards in Skyrim have some of the most iconic lines in the game. We're going as a Whiterun Guard because their armor is the only one that can be obtained without needing 100 pickpocketing or killing a guard. We chose a Nord as our starting race because I'm pretty sure all guards are Nords. We then said hi to Alduin before choosing to escape with Ralof. I chose Ralof not because we immediately get our first armor piece, a pair of fur boots, but because after Ralof defeats one of the Imperial soldiers, we get our weapon for the run, an Imperial sword. With a usable weapon in hand, we quickly made our way through Helgen Keep. Once outside, we activated the Warrior Stone, and then made our way to Riverwood. Gildergreen gave us a Ring of Minor Health for 20 extra HP, before then sending us off the Whiterun. At the Drunken Huntsman, I bought an Imperial bow and some steel arrows, and then went to Dragon's Reach. After talking to Jarl Bolger from Sovngarde, we could make our way to the Jarl's quarters. Immediately on the right is a display case containing a Whiterun Guard uniform and shield. Now, taking these at this point is considered stealing, but I know that becoming Thane makes these items free to take. That means we're off the Bleak Falls Barrow. I used the bow when I could, to try and get sneak attack crits on the bandits. When in melee range, I switched to the Imperial Sword. It's a steel sword, so plenty of damage for this part of the game, especially once I started allocating perks to increase its damage. The damage from the bandits was also not that big of an issue, despite our only armor being a pair of boots. The Frostbite Spider required a second try though. I just had to wail on it and hope for not too many poison procs. We took out the spider with only a quarter of our health left. I then took out Arvel for the Golden Claw, and made our way to the Draugr section. They took more hits than the bandits, but they were dishing nowhere near as much damage as the spider. I did switch to the bow when I could for archery XP, but it didn't grow as fast as one-handed, probably because archery is under the Thief Stone. We did almost go down to a Restless Draugr with the Warhammer, but we still had plenty of potions to heal with and take out the Draugr. On to the boss of the dungeon, a Draugr Overlord. The Overlord needs to come out of a coffin, giving us a chance to get in some free hits, taking the Overlord to half health before it can get in a hit. It's only hit, as we plow through the Draugr's health bar, rewarding us with the Dragonstone. Following the battle, we now had 2 level ups. I chose the second rank of the Armsman perk, and the first rank of the Overdraw perk. We then made our way back to Whiterun. We used the money from looting the dungeon to purchase an Iron Dagger or Sparks to disenchant later. Back in Dragon's Reach, we gave Sovngarde the Dragonstone, which then led us to needing to take out a dragon. However, before leaving the palace, we re-entered the Jarl's quarters. I decided to now lockpick open the display case. The shield was not free to take, but the uniform was still considered stealing, so I grabbed the shield and made my way to the Western Watchtower. With access to ranged combat, I stayed back and let airlift and the guards get up close to attack the dragon. However, when airlift went down with the dragon at barely any health left, I switched to our sword and shield. I went for shield bashes to stun the dragon, giving us plenty of openings to take it out. Taking out Myrmilnir rewards us with our final 2 armor pieces, a Whiterun Guard uniform and helmet. Most guards, including Whiteruns, don't wear gauntlets. That prevents us from taking advantage of most of the light armor perks. We can only use Agile Defender. The dragon fight brought us up to level 5, where we took the Bladesman perk. Back in town, we could start the side questing I wanted to do for this video. To match the video's theme, I wanted to do all the Whiterun side quests I could think of, minus the companions. They can wait until I do a Werewolf only run. The first quest was to retrieve Amryn's sword. I also used Amryn for one-handed levels whenever I could. Upon leaving Whiterun, we got the quest from the Alik'r to find a Redguard woman. We'll do that one later. For this playthrough, Amryn's sword was in Redguard's retreat. The cave was pretty small. Only 4 enemies total, including the bandit chief. The chief was wearing a set of bandit iron armor, but we got 2 critical strikes thanks to Bladesman, making easy work of him. Back at Whiterun, I picked up a small quest from Adrian the blacksmith. She wanted us to give a sword she made for the Jarl to her father, the Jarl Steward. We had to first report to the Jarl about the dragon attack, before we could then talk to Berventus and give him the sword. We then found Amaranth sitting at the end of one of the tables. Giving him his sword back gives us a free one-handed and block level. I then made a visit to the Hall of the Dead. The priest there lost his amulet, so we needed to explore the catacombs, where some of the skeletons had come to life. The reward for this task was only 15 gold, but I said I didn't want to do every quest. Next up was the missing in action quest from Fralia Greymane. Her son Thorald is missing, presumed dead, but Fralia knows better. Her son Avelstein believes the Battleborns are involved, but we need to find proof. I tried waiting until nighttime, but for some reason, every time I snuck into the Battleborns' house, there was at least one person awake. I waited multiple days trying to find an opening. Eventually we got one. With this, we can steal a ledger saying Thorald was abducted by the Thalmor and is in Northwatch Keep. Before attempting the dungeon, I made a side trip to Morthal, where we were attacked by a dragon. However, it then flew off, so I went on my way, just for the dragon to return. We were away from town, but the dragon then got distracted by a townsfolk, so I continued walking away from the city, just for the dragon to again aggro onto us. This time, we took out the dragon for good. In the mountains to the northeast of Morthal, we could visit the shrine of Mayor's Dagon. Not really. We were actually up there to visit the Lordstone. The Lordstone gives us a free 50 armor rating and a 25% magic resistance. We weren't raiding the dungeon alone. We were also joined by Avelstein and 2 others. Thalmor outside the dungeon were pretty dangerous. Not because they were strong, but because there was a lot of them. Inside, we only had to deal with a group of 2 or 3 Thalmor at a time. However, we did reach an encounter with 3 Thalmor soldiers that led to the death of Avelstein's companions. Thankfully, Avelstein and I were enough to reach the end of the dungeon to save Thorald. However, as we made our way out of the dungeon, we were attacked by hired thugs. I pulled back and let Avelstein take the aggro, before then joining the fight. The thugs were hitting pretty hard, but we got a lucky level up, where we were able to take the 3rd level of the Armsman perk. This gave us the strength to take out the thugs, and good thing too, because Avelstein went down. Thankfully, I think he's essential, maybe protected. I checked the thugs' inventory and found their contract. They were hired by the Battleborns, probably because I stole that book. Next on our journey was helping Danica Puresspring. She wanted to revive the Gildergreen, the tree in the middle of the square. She needed the sap of the parent tree, the Eldergleam. We can't use an ordinary knife to get the sap. We needed a Nettlebane, a knife used by Hagravens to sacrifice Spriggans. We could get one from a Hagraven at Orphan's Rock near Helgen. To reach the Hagraven, we needed to find a bunch of witches. However, I think our 25% magic resistance made them a non-issue. The Hagraven and the Final Witch were spewing fireballs which almost took us out, but we had some potions. The Hagraven's firebolts forced us to use the last of our healing potions, but I think the Hagraven ran out of magicka, because it switched to melee, making the fight easier for us. It did try to heal, but that was not enough and the Hagraven went down, rewarding us with Nettlebane. Going back to Danica with Nettlebane, she asked us to visit the Eldergleam for her. We then caught the attention of Maurice, a pilgrim. I need Maurice for the ending I want, but I had to be careful. Maurice only has his fist, and his health bar does not regenerate after combat. To reach the Eldergleam Sanctuary, I took the ride off the mountain next to Whiterun. Along the way, we encountered Thalskar the Wanderer, and had him sing a song for us before continuing on our journey.
Our hero claims a warrior's heart. I tell you, the Dragonborn comes.
This route passes close to Iverstead, and I regretted not entering the city to make it a fast travel point. From there, we now had to scale down the mountain. At the bottom was this wastelandish area where we could find the Eldergleam Sanctuary. The Eldergleam was in the back of the sanctuary. To reach the tree itself, we need to use Nettlebane to force its roots to withdraw. By taking out the final root, we could talk to Maurice and explain to him Danica's plan. Maurice suggested an alternative. Instead of reviving a dead tree, how about we plant a new one? By praying to the Eldergleam, Maurice gave us a sapling. I decided to not yet return to Whiterun. Instead, I made the trip to Iverstead, and then up to 7,000 steps. The wolves on the mountain did not stand a chance. The frost troll took a few attempts, but by taking advantage of the process poison we still had from Bleakfall Sparrow and shield bashes, we were able to get enough critical strikes to get a kill cam and for once finally take out the troll. We can now enter Hrothgar, where we were initiated into the Old Man Screaming Club. The Greybirds wanted us to find their founder's drinking horn from the tomb of Ustengrav. However, first was a trip back to Whiterun. We handed over the sapling to Danica and made our way to Dragon's Reach. A plan to assassinate the Jarl has reached Preventius' attention, and Preventius wanted us to stop it. We were told first to visit Acadia's Cauldron. She had a copy of her ledger for us. The Whiterun stable hand recently bought some poison. However, upon reaching the stable, we found the stable hand dead. The stable hand had a note leading us to Silentmoon's camp. The area was still filled with bandits, so we had to deal with them before finding a new note leading us back to Dragon's Reach. The assassin was invisible, and on one of the balconies overlooking the Jarl's throne. I used my bow to attack the assassin. His bow was stronger than ours, so I wanted to be able to dodge his attacks. Lydia then came charging forward, forcing the assassin to his knees. Lydia decided not to finish off the assassin, so I decided to take the honor instead. The assassin had ebony arrows, which we took for just in case moments. On to Ustengrav. The mages at the start were no problem. The necromancer was not an apprentice, but her summons all went down in 2 or 3 hits. For the Draugr in the next room, we had to make use of a level up. There was now 3 restless Draugrs. However, that was the only time the Draugrs were an issue. At the end, the small frostbite spiders were all one-shots with our bow. We had to get close for the big one to spawn, but we were too strong at this point for it, letting us go into the next room to discover the note of Yorga Windcaller. The note led us to Riverwood, where we met Delphine. She needed us to help her take out a dragon. Salkinir came out of the ground already with his scales, but thankfully he was a frost dragon. It was probably not the best idea to just stay in front of him and smack his nose, but we only had to back off and heal once, before finally going in for the kill. It was at this time, I remember I forgot the Friend in Need quest, so I went back to Whiterun and talked to Sadie at the inn. The Alik'r are assassins associated with the Thalmor, and wanted to kill Sadie. We needed to find her leader, Kamatu. In Dragon's dungeon, we could find a captured Alik'r warrior. By paying his fine, he told us we could find Kamatu at Swindler's Den. At the end of the cave, we found Kamatu surrounded by like 10 Alik'r warriors. Charging Kamatu head on was a bad idea, but then something clicked in my head. The Nord's racial power battle cry. It forced enemies to flee for 30 seconds. After talking to Kamatu, I activated battle cry and it worked. Kamatu fled to the waterfall in the back and tried to hide, allowing us to do a lot of damage. He then tried to flee, but he quickly went down. All that was left was Kamatu's warriors, but they could not deal as much damage as Kamatu himself could. So along with Lydia, we took them down and even got this cool backstab animation. I then dismissed Lydia, and as I turned in the quest, I found Delphine at the Baron Mare. She apparently chills out here if you don't go straight to Riverwood. I then proceeded to do the final side quest of the run, beating up Mikhail for Carlotta Valencia. Carlotta rewards us with 400 gold for just fist fighting Mikhail. He must have been that bad of a nuisance. Time to go back to the main quest. Next up was the Thalmor Embassy. The Thalmor soldiers were about as difficult as they were at Northwatch Keep, but this time we were fighting them solo. We also had no healing potions, so we needed to use our healing spell when we had an opening. The Thalmor outside the embassy were okay to fight, because they were fighting us 1v1. However, when we entered Elwyn's Solar, we were forced into a situation causing us to almost go down to Relindo. Thankfully, we could just go outside and wait an hour to heal. When we re-entered the Solar, Relindo had moved to the torture room, but we were prepared and took him out. We then read the Thalmor's dossier on a man named Esbern, causing Malborn and 2 Thalmor soldiers to appear. The soldiers looked like they were about to kill Malborn, but we intervened in time to save him. We could not make our escape and go back to Delphine. The report told us that Esbern was most likely in Riften, hiding in the Ratways. Before hanging the Riften though, I went in and enchanted one of our Imperial swords with shock. This was going to be our secret weapon if we found ourselves in trouble. Until then, I would just use a normal Imperial sword. I also put fire resistance on her shield. Our Nord blood could handle ice magic, but I wanted something to handle fire magic. in the right ways. We had to fight some more Thalmor before we could reach Esbern. Upon trying to leave the right ways, we were attacked by a Thalmor wizard with a frost atronach. However, Esbern was a fire mage with firebolt and a fire atronach, which took the frost atronach to half health before we had to jump in and finish it off. The Thalmor wizard himself was far easier than atronach, so we were quickly out of the right ways and making our way back to Riverwood. Esbern then told us we had to go to Cloud Ruler Temple outside Markarth. Close to the temple was a guaranteed dragon spawn, this time a blood dragon. We used our bow to attack it, but I decided it was better to get distracted by the Forsworn camp outside the temple. It doesn't always work. Also, for some reason, we got this moment where the dragon was gliding in slow motion. When the dragon reached half health, it came back to life and immediately flew over to crash near its burial mound. With the dragon grounded, we swam over to finish it off, but this led to our death. The strat was to stay back. It spammed the dragon with arrows until it went down. With that done, we could make our way into Karspire and then Cloud Ruler Temple. Alduin's wall inside the temple told us we needed a shout to defeat Alduin, so it was back to Hrothgar. Arngir was reluctant to give us the information we needed, but we managed to convince him, and he told us to visit Paarthurnax, the leader of the Greybeards. This required scaling up the mountain, which we could do with the clear sky shout we got from Arngir. At the mountain summit, we encountered Paarthurnax, a dragon. He told us the shout we needed could only be learned by using an Elder Scroll. I tried to find Septimus Cygnus' outpost without needing to enter a college, but I spent around 15 minutes just running around in a circle. Turns out I was looking in the wrong spot. The location we needed was directly north of the college. With the lexicon and attunement sphere from Septimus, we went and picked up Lydia before making our way into the Drummer Ruin. With Lydia with us, the Drummer robots posed no problem. We then finally found an armor piece with a one-hand enchantment. Next up was the area of the Thalmor. The normal Thalmor were more difficult than the robots. But then we reached the roadblock. We found a room with 3 Thalmor. One of them was a mage, and one of them was a Thalmor Skulker. The mage and Skulker together were too much for us. The strat was to use Battle Cry. This caused the Skulker to flee, letting us take out the mage. We could then fight the Skulker 2v1 and take it out. This allowed us to go into the next room, where we completely avoided the Drummer Centurion and made our way into Blackreach. At first, I forgot where to go, and went down to a second Thalmor Skulker, but then the next attempt, I went in the correct direction. We eventually made our way to the Tower of Mazark, where we could retrieve the Elder Scroll. Before heading to the Throne of the World though, I had the Dragon's Reach, and put a one-hand enchantment on our boots, ring, and amulet. This increased our sword damage from 16 to 24. If we had gauntlets, we could have put the enchantment on those too. With this, we can head back to the Throne of the World, read the Elder Scroll, learn Dragonrend, and begin our fight with Alduin. As I predicted, Alduin uses Fire Breath. I tried to make use of shield bashes, but I had trouble with stamina regeneration. We were doing decent damage, I think, but when Alduin got us to a point where we needed to heal, he managed to fly off. Thankfully he didn't get very far. While we waited for Alduin to land, I used our healing spell. I didn't have that many health potions. A lot of magical potions though. As we got Alduin to almost half, I noticed I was still using our normal sword, not our shark sword, so I made the switch, hoping the extra damage would make a difference. It did. The difference was notable. We soon got Alduin to half health. This forced Alduin to stay grounded, but now he could hit us with Fire Breath more often, forcing us to retreat behind the ward wall to heal. Thankfully Paarthurnax was still in the fight. Don't ask me why I'm still using Dragonrend. With our health now close to full, I rushed back into the fight, and got the final hits in, defeating Alduin. However, it's not over yet. Alduin had to retreat to Sovngarde to regain his strength. But in order to follow him, we needed to trap a dragon. This meant it was time for the Peace Council. When that was over with, we could finally use Dragon's Reach to capture Odahviing. Odahviing offered to take us to Skuldafn, where Alduin's portal to Sovngarde was located, in exchange for his freedom, so we let him go. We were still at a low enough level that the Draugr in Skuldafn were only restless than regular Draugrs. We had grown a lot stronger since our last Draugr-filled dungeon, so we easily plowed through them and the Draugr Overlord at the end. This led us back to the outside, where we had to make a run for it, past Nokrin and the Sovngarde. To reach the Hall of Valor, we needed to beat this huge wall of a man. Shield bashing was not enough to beat Soon, because his power attacks hit like a freight train. The trick was Battle Cry. This forced Soon to run behind the Bone Bridge's tusk things, allowing us to get in a bunch of free hits. By the time Battle Cry wore off, we only needed one more hit to end the fight. We can't earn the Hall of Valor, and get the 3 heroes for our final battle with Alduin. This time, I made sure to start off with our Shock Sword. Also, I remembered to also attack Alduin's sides instead of just rushing his face. Oh, and I brought plenty of potions. A few hits later though, we got Alduin grounded. This spelled his doom, because he went down not even a minute later. We beat Skyrim as a Whiterun Guard. That was fun. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time for another Skyrim video. This time, Skyrim with only daggers.